Space, that vast black ocean where silence reigns supreme. But silence is never eternal. Sometimes it hides a whisper powerful enough to change the course of an entire civilization. The year is 2457. The United Terran Space Authority, UTSA, operates its most advanced deep space radar array, Icarus Array, orbiting Neptune. Its mission: detect any signal or anomaly from the farthest reaches of the universe. But today, that mission wasn't just a machine's responsibility, it was the fate of humanity itself. 1.1. The arrival of the signal. Ella Vargas, a radar operator, sat in her midnight shift sipping lukewarm coffee. The monitors displayed the same lifeless lines as always. She was half thinking today would be another uneventful night, until a sudden wave pattern flared on her screen, unlike anything she'd seen before. "What the?" she muttered into her headset. She quickly saved the frequency file and isolated the signal, boosting its amplitude. There was a pattern: 3 short pulses, 1 long, then 2 short, and the cycle repeated every 73 seconds. "A control, this is Vargas. I've got an anomaly. Might be an artificial signal." Within seconds, her small observation room was bathed in alternating blue and red warning lights. Voices from other stations filled the calms. 12 minutes later, the Icarus Array's main briefing room was packed. The massive screen displayed the same pulsing wave pattern. Director Mark Houston, a stern 50-year-old veteran, scanned the room before speaking. "We've been receiving this signal for the last 16 minutes. This is not an asteroid bounce, and it's not cosmic background noise. Someone is sending this." "Tsu," a young engineer asked. Mark's expression was grim. "That's the question. And it's coming from approximately 82 light-years away, from a star we've never detected signs of life around." Dr. Lian Zhao, the team's linguistics expert, pulled up the frequency spectrum. "These aren't just beeps. There's a mathematical sequence hidden inside. Look, prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. The room went silent. Prime numbers meant one thing: an intelligent sender. That night, Ella Vargas recorded in her personal log, "If this really is a signal from another civilization, it could change history." But I'm scared because history doesn't always mean progress. Sometimes it means war. Within 48 hours, the signal was public knowledge. Every network headline asked the same question: are we not alone? But inside, you'd say, the debate took a more dangerous turn. Should humanity respond? Or remain silent, hiding our location? In the final meeting, Director Mark spoke with heavy conviction. "We've been staring at the stars for 300 years, and now the stars are staring back. The question isn't do they exist. The question is, how will they see us?" Ella stood by the window, gazing into the black expanse. Fear and wonder danced in her eyes. This was more than a signal. It was an invitation. And not every invitation should be accepted. The signal had only been public for 3 days, yet Earth was already splitting into factions. Some saw hope. Others saw an existential threat. In Washington, Neva, and New Beijing, leaders of the United Terran Assembly were holding emergency sessions behind closed doors. The press called it the Council of Contact. Inside those rooms, the stakes were far greater than the headlines suggested. Ella Vargas sat uncomfortably in the far corner of a glass-walled conference chamber, a place she'd never expected to be. She was here not as a diplomat, but as the person who'd first detected the signal, the reluctant face of this discovery. On the main holoscreen, a live feed displayed the signal pattern, scrolling endlessly. Director Mark Houston stood at the head of the table, addressing a dozen of the most powerful figures on Earth and its colonies. The signal is still transmitting at a constant interval. No change in pattern. No secondary messages. President Amina Saig of the United Terran Assembly leaned forward. "What are our options?" Mark hesitated. "We either send a reply, or we don't. There is no in-between. The longer we wait, the more it looks like we're ignoring them." "Ooh." Admiral Chen, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet, spoke first. "Replying is a mistake. This is exactly how ancient civilizations on Earth vanished, by trusting the unknown. We respond, we paint a target on humanity." Dr. Lian Zhao, the linguist, countered. "Prime numbers aren't a weapon. They're a greeting. Whoever sent this knows mathematics is a universal language." The debate spiraled, each side throwing arguments like weapons. Pro-contact, opportunity, scientific breakthrough, moral obligation, anti-contact, security risk, strategic vulnerability, possible invasion. When Ella stayed silent, her eyes flicking between faces. She could feel history grinding forward, slow but unstoppable. 2 hours later, the council voted. The result? 6-5 in favor of sending a reply. And a quiet murmur filled the room, but Admiral Chen's voice cut through it. If you're going to talk to them, at least do it on our terms. And with a warship in the same sector, Mark Houston nodded grimly. That's why we're launching a crewed mission to the signal's origin. Over the next week, recruitment for Project First Dawn began. The mission would be simple on paper. Travel to the signal's coordinates. Attempt peaceful first contact. Return with answers. In practice, it was anything but simple. Ella, despite her protests, was chosen as communications officer, her role as the signal's discoverer now permanent in history. The rest of the core crew, Commander Rafe Donovan, decorated war hero, mission leader, Dr. Lion Zhao, linguistics and cultural contact specialist. Lieutenant Sarah Holt, ship's pilot, ex-test pilot for the Phoenix-class vessels. Captain Kaito Morse, security chief, former asteroid belt operations commander. Dr. Arjun Mehta, xenobiologist, expert in non-terrestrial life forms. While the crew trained aboard the Utes Horizon, political tensions flared. News feeds buzzed with conspiracy theories. Some claimed the signal was a hoax, others believed it was a trap. In the dark corners of the net, a phrase began to appear. Ella caught wind of something else, intercepted chatter from intelligence channels, suggesting someone else might already be en route to the signal. Not another alien species, but a human faction outside UTSA control. The Horizon's docking bay was a cathedral of steel and silence. The massive vessel shimmered under the floodlights, a spear pointed at the unknown. Ella walked the length of the hangar alone, fingertips brushing the cool metal. She opened her personal log. Tomorrow, we step into the dark. I used to think discovery was pure. That knowledge was always good. But I've learned something in the past week. Discovery changes the discoverer. And tomorrow, I'm not sure we'll come back as the same species that leaves. Kikiparaves. High above her, the signal continued its endless rhythm. 3 short, 1 long, 2 short. A heartbeat from the stars. A call that could unite or destroy. The launch of the UTS Horizon wasn't a celebration. It was a negotiation with fear. The skies above Luna Base were black velvet dotted with stars, the Earth a silent marble hanging beyond. The ship stood on its magnetic cradle, the crew sealed inside, while dignitaries and military officials watched from behind armored glass. There were no cheering crowds, no countdown broadcast across the colonies. This was not a moment for spectacle. It was a mission whispered into existence. Ella sat at her console in the comm station, eyes locked on her readouts. All green across the board, she reported, trying to keep her voice steady. Commander Rafe Donovan stood at the center of the bridge, arms behind his back. Uplet Holt, you're clear to initiate launch sequence. Sarah Holt's fingers danced over the holographic controls. The ship hummed like a sleeping giant, waking from a long slumber. EMAG cradle disengaged. Thruster ignition in 3, 2, 1. The horizon lifted, the docking arms falling away, and the blackness of open space swallowed them whole. Hours into their departure, Director Mark Houston's face appeared on the main holoscreen. His voice carried the weight of something unsaid. You are now officially beyond Terran-controlled space. From this point forward, you act under your own discretion. Remember, the first message you send back could define our species. His eyes shifted briefly, almost as if checking the room around him before adding, and be aware, not everyone agrees with this mission. There are forces that would prefer the horizon never reaches its destination. The screen went dark. 2 days passed in the endless black. The crew settled into their routines, Sarah at the helm, Kaito patrolling the ship, Lion working with Ella to analyze the signal, Arjun running simulations of potential alien biospheres. The signal itself had not changed. It pulsed with perfect, almost mechanical precision. Ella began to think of it less as a message and more as a heartbeat, steady, patient, waiting. On the 4th day, the Horizon's AI flagged a faint energy signature trailing behind them. Kaito stepped onto the bridge, his voice low. That's not debris. That's a drive signature. Human. Human. Sarah frowned at her display. Who the hell would be following us? We're the only authorized vessel. Rafe's jaw tightened. Unless someone didn't need authorization, the decision was made to maintain course, but tension spread through the crew like frost. Someone else was out here, and they were staying just far enough away to avoid direct scans. That night in the mess hall, arguments began to brew. Kaido wanted to arm the Horizon's defense systems immediately. Lion argued that preparing for battle could send the wrong message if they did make alien contact. Ella sat quietly, listening, until Rafe slammed a hand on the table. We are not splitting into factions before we've even reached the halfway point. We stick to the mission. No panic. But even as he spoke, Ella caught the look in his eyes. He was just as unsettled as the rest of them. On the 6th day, during her comms shift, Ella caught something, a whisper of encrypted human band transmission bleeding into the background noise. It wasn't Utse protocol. She decrypted just enough to hear a single phrase, "Do not let them make contact." Her pulse spiked. She looked over at Rafe, but for a moment, she hesitated. Telling him meant escalating things. And if there really was a hostile human faction following them, the Horizon could be walking straight into a trap. Instead, she saved the file under a hidden directory in the comms array. That night, Ella dreamed of the signal, Yover. Not as sound, but as light. Flickering patterns in the void, forming shapes she couldn't quite recognize. In the dream, something was watching her from the other side of that light. When she woke, the ship was quiet. Too quiet. Too quiet. She walked to the observation deck and stared out into the black ocean of space. Somewhere, 82 light-years away, someone, or something, was still sending their steady, patient call. And somewhere closer, in that same black ocean, someone else was watching her ship. The Horizon had been in flight for 11 days. The alien signal pulsed in the background like an eternal metronome, but the crew's attention was no longer on it. It was on the shadow following them. At 3:14 ship time, the Horizon's proximity alarms chimed. Sarah Holt's voice crackled through the crew quarters. "A bridge to all crew. We have movement on our tail. Distance closing." Ella snapped awake and sprinted to the comms station. The display confirmed it. The faint drive signature that had stalked them since day 4 was now less than 2 million kilometers away. In space, that was far too close for coincidence. Commander Rafe Donovan arrived seconds later, his voice low but firm. "A visual feed." "A negative," Sarah replied. "So a negative," Sarah replied. "They're running cold. Minimal emissions, no transponder." Kaido Moores entered the bridge, already in partial armor, his sidearm magnetically clipped to his thigh. "If they're this close, they want us to know. They're done hiding." Ella opened a wide-band channel on standard Terran emergency frequencies. "Unidentified vessel. This is the UTS Horizon. You are in proximity of a sanctioned first contact mission. State your identity and intentions immediately." Static. She tried again, cycling through every comms protocol she knew. Still nothing. Lion Zhao stepped forward. Maybe they don't want to talk. Or maybe their orders are to... A sharp ping interrupted her. The vessel was locking an active scan on the Horizon. Sarah's hands tightened on the helm controls. "They're pinging us hard, Commander. If they're military, they just mapped our entire weapons grid." Rafe didn't hesitate. "I'll bring shields to standby. Do not arm the main batteries yet. I don't want to start something we can't finish," Kaido muttered. "They've already started it." At 3:42, the unknown vessel fired. Not a missile, not a beam, but a tight burst from a high-powered railgun, a slug that screened past the Horizon's bow by less than 50 meters before vanishing into the void. Every head on the bridge turned toward Rafe. "They're warning us," Kaido said flatly. "Or hurting us," Sarah added. Ella felt her stomach knot. The encrypted message she'd intercepted days ago, "Do not let them make contact," flashed in her mind. She still hadn't told Rafe. Rafe demanded, "Sarah, a full burn and try to outrun them. They're slower if they're running cold." Kaido, "Arm the railguns, turn, and let them know we're not prey. Leon, we keep moving toward the signal. That's the mission. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be debris." Rafe's gaze swept the crew. "We maintain course, but we go to combat alert. Shields to full. Defense drones active." "If they cross the 50,000 click mark, we respond." For the next 6 hours, the other vessel mirrored their every move, keeping a fixed distance. It never responded to hails, never drifted further away. It was like being hunted by something that didn't need to rest. In the mess hall, conversations were short, eyes constantly flicking toward the bulkheads as if the shadow could seep through the metal. At 9:58, it happened. The shadowing ship surged forward, accelerating far faster than before. Alarms blared across the horizon. Sarah shouted, "Hey, they're closing fast. Weapons hot." A flash of light tore across the void as a plasma bolt slammed into the Horizon's aft shields. The deck shuddered, lights flickering. Shields holding, 82%. Kaido barked. Rafe's voice was steel. Return fire. Target weapons. Array. Only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The Horizon's railguns roared, tungsten slugs streaking into the darkness. A distant bloom of light marked a direct hit. The unknown vessel spun on its axis, venting plasma from one of its engine pods. It drifted for a moment before firing maneuvering thrusters and vanishing into fiddle space without another shot. Silence fell over the bridge except for the soft hum of the Horizon systems. Nobody comes all this way to fire one shot and leave. Rafe didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the alien signal display, still pulsing, still patient, as if nothing had happened. Later, in the dim light of the comms room, Ella finally pulled Rafe aside. There's something I didn't tell you. Days ago, I picked up an encrypted human transmission. It said, "Do not let them make contact." Rafe's expression hardened, but his voice was calm. From them? Someone out here doesn't want us to reach that signal alive. Rafe stared at the pulsing readout for a long moment before speaking. Then we'll just have to disappoint them. The Horizon drifted through the void like a silver needle, her hull still scorched from the skirmish with the shadowing vessel. Repairs were underway, but no one on board pretended the damage was only metal deep. The crew carried it in their eyes. The constant flicker toward the sensors, the hushed conversations, the unspoken question. Would they make it to the signal before something else tried to stop them? On the 13th day of the mission, the Horizon reached the edge of mapped Terran charts. Beyond this line, there were no navigation beacons, no known jump corridors, only gravity wells, raw starlight, and guesswork. Sarah Holt slowed the ship to sublight cruise. "We're officially in uncharted space," she said, her voice quieter than usual. Rafe Donovan stood at her side. Hide. He marked the coordinates. History will want to know exactly where we stepped off the map. Ella sat at her comm station, eyes fixed on the alien signal's waveform. She'd watched it for nearly 2 weeks, memorized its steady rhythm. But now, something was different. The cycle of 3 short, 1 long, 2 short had doubled in amplitude. Between pulses, faint harmonics emerged, too faint to hear but visible in the spectrum analysis. She ran a fast Fourier transform, isolating the new data. Patterns emerged, not prime numbers this time, but something else. "Commander, you need to see this," she said. The bridge gathered around her display. Lionjaw leaned in, eyes narrowing. "That's linguistic structure. Repetition, variation, symmetry. They've switched from math to language." "This is deliberate. It's as if they knew we were close enough to detect the subtleties, like they've been waiting for us to get here before saying more." Kaido frowned. Or they knew we were coming, and now they're deciding how to talk to us, or warn us off. As the Horizon pressed deeper into alien space, strange anomalies began to appear. Stars with unusual color shifts, their spectra bent like warped glass. Pockets of space where the background radiation dropped to near zero. Gravitational microwaves rippling through the ship, making the bulkheads groan. Dr. Arjun Mehta recorded it all, muttering into his datapad. "This isn't just empty space. This is territory. Someone has shaped it." By day 15, Ella's filters produced a breakthrough. The harmonics resolved into a waveform that, when slowed, sounded eerily like a voice, low, resonant, and layered, as if many tones spoke at once. The bridge fell silent as it played over the speakers. Catherine, Lion's eyes widened. "That's not random phonetics. That's a name, or a designation." "Whose?" Rafe asked. She glanced at him uneasy. Maybe ours, maybe theirs, maybe both. The next day, the signal changed again. This time, the interval between pulses began to match the Horizon's own acceleration and deceleration patterns, as if it were tracking their movements in real time. "This isn't a beacon anymore," Ella said quietly. "And they're not just speaking, they're watching us." At 200 hours, long-range sensors pinged a familiar drive signature, faint but undeniable. Kaido's face hardened. It's them. The hunter's back, only this time they weren't following from behind. They were ahead, between the Horizon and the source of the signal. Ella stared at the alien waveform pulsing across her screen, the deep voice still whispering Catherine. She didn't know what it meant. But in that moment, she realized the first contact mission had just become a race. The hunter ship's drive signature grew sharper on the sensors, its trajectory deliberately shifting to match the Horizon's intercept course. "They're not just shadowing us this time," Chiedo said grimly. "They're blocking our path." Sarah Holt adjusted the display, bringing up the vector lines. "They've placed themselves exactly between us and the signal source. If we try to detour around them, it'll add days, maybe weeks, to our journey, and give them all the time they need to figure out why we're here," Rafe muttered. Kaido proposed a risky option, a high-G slingshot around a nearby neutron star, using its gravity to arc around the hunter's position. "It's dangerous," he admitted. "Radiation levels are lethal if our shielding hiccups, but they can't follow without cooking themselves." Sarah studied the numbers. "He would be skimming the neutron star's magnetosphere at 0.20, that's suicidal. It's better than running straight into their guns," Kaido countered. The Horizon accelerated toward the neutron star, the hunter ship staying just close enough to keep the pressure on. But halfway through the maneuver, something else appeared on sensors. Faint at first, then growing into a massive silhouette, blocking starlight like a void in space itself. Ella's voice cracked over comms. "Commander, that's not a ship, and it's not natural." As they closed in, the object resolved into an immense structure. Miles across, shaped like a ring split into 7 uneven arcs, each one lined with spines that glimmered faintly. It hung motionless, yet every sensor reading insisted it was alive in some way. Subtle magnetic fields, heat pockets, vibrations far below audible range. Dr. Mater whispered, "It's not orbiting the neutron star, it's anchored in space. Whatever built it, they wanted it exactly here." The moment the Horizon came within range, Ella's console lit up. The alien signal, steady for weeks, surged in volume and complexity, harmonics blooming into dozens of overlapping tones. "They're talking fast now," she said, "like they're excited, or warning us." One harmonic separated from the rest, locking perfectly onto the ship's comm frequency. A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge. "Approach, gate. Not alone." Lion stared at the waveform. That's translation-grade syntax. "This isn't just a broadcast, it's directed at us." Behind them, the hunter vessel slowed. For the first time, it didn't press forward. It hung back, just at the edge of detection range. Rafe noticed it first. "They're scared," he said, or smart enough to know not to get too close to this thing. The ring's spine slowly rotated, forming a narrowing corridor, like a mouth closing. "If it's a gate," Kaido said, "it's either opening for us or closing to keep something in." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Take us in," slow and steady, eyes on every readout. As the Horizon passed between the first 2 arcs, the space around them shimmered like heat haze bending the stars. Gravity wavered. For a moment, the neutron star's pull vanished entirely, replaced by a sensation of falling sideways. When the haze cleared, the neutron star was gone. The hunter ship was gone. They were somewhere else entirely, a black expanse lit by a cluster of pale blue suns, their light tangled in strands of glowing dust. And there ahead hung something far more alien than the gate, a floating lattice the size of a small moon, with thousands of lights pulsing in slow patterns. Ella's console beeped once. "The signal! It's coming from inside that." Rafe leaned forward, eyes fixed on the structure. "We found them." Lion's reply was barely a whisper. "No, I think they brought us here."